Am I the asshole for refusing to babysit my nephews again for free? I'm 29F, child-free by choice. My sister C is 27F, has two boys ages 3, 5, and 2. We live close to each other and I've been in their lives since the beginning. We are each other's only family. We come from a broken and dysfunctional family. I love the boys, but they are a lot of work, especially on top of my own career in social work and my personal reasons for not wanting kids of my own. I watch them /help out /babysit probably 10 to 20 hours a week currently, and it's getting exhausting. The times I've been needed have slowly increased, and over the last 7-ish months it's been like this. At first it was C looking for a part-time job, going to mandated courses to get unemployment, occasional movie nights with friends etc., which I was okay with. Now I spend most of my free time at their house. Lately the cause has been that her best friend's mom is dying and C needs to be there. She's a single mom and I get that it's hard, but recently I feel like she's using me and I rarely see my fiancé as we both work shifts that change all the time. Sometimes when she's asked me to watch them and I've had some other plans, C sends me a voice message of the boys crying, missing me, guilt-tripping me, saying it's such a shame I care more about myself than them. Telling me she would ask someone else if she had anyone else to ask. Saying really mean things about me being selfish for wanting to enjoy date night when she has to choose between her kids and her best friend's dying mom. I could handle if that's all it was, but now it's also affecting the next time we meet. When I get there, the house is a mess, there's nothing to eat and they happen to have a day for a shower/bath, or C casually mentions I need to put together a gym bag or something similar for them for the next day. These weird, extra things that are obviously revenge. The first time this happened I assumed she'd be grateful I helped where I could, but it wouldn't be an issue if I didn't have time to do everything. I was quickly proven wrong. Before she got home she casually asked if I had done the extra things, and when I hadn't, not all anyway, she suddenly had to stay a little later. This happened a few times and I'm ashamed to admit it took me too long to understand what was happening. I was just glad she was updating me on her estimated arrival time. She usually never did that. Another thing she does for revenge, I feel like, could be my exhausted interpretation, is not prepare meals for the kids, or even leave money. When I go to the store she promises to pay me back but, you guessed it, tries to guilt me into saying she doesn't have to pay. She's also not kept her word about some things she'd promised, saying she doesn't want to do things for me if I can't help her with the boys. The excuses and backtracking on stuff start immediately if I don't do exactly what she wants. The latest example, I asked to borrow a dress for a wedding because I didn't want to buy one and we had always borrowed each other's clothes, and she agreed. For days before the wedding I couldn't show up as fast as she wanted on a short notice, so she said I could forget about borrowing the dress. She'd forgotten she'd need it herself. I had to panic buy one. Last month she promised to pick me up after leaving my car for some maintenance and she didn't show up. I was stranded. Took her 5 hours to answer her phone and get there. She also had the audacity to huff and puff about how inconvenient it was she had to drive me. Sorry this is so long, but it's been mind-blowing writing this all down and seeing what I'm putting up with. I'm such a doormat. So yesterday I told her I couldn't come today when she called desperately needing me to watch the boys for the evening, and when she started her tirade of me being selfish I kind of just snapped. I told her to shut up and listen. If she thought I was that horrible of a human and so selfish, she had two options. Either stop relying on me so much and letting her kids be exposed to my selfishness, or I'll really start being selfish and will not watch them free of charge ever again. Never do anything extra without being compensated. She hung up without saying anything. After I had stopped shaking, I hate confrontation as you can imagine. I started to really panic as I feel like I just lost my last remaining family member. My fiancé said it was long time coming and I should have stood up for myself ages ago, but he's biased as he loves me. I don't really have time for proper friends outside work colleagues, so I don't know who else to ask if I made the biggest mistake of my life. What if I don't see my nephews again? What if I had just done it a bit longer and she'd eased a bit? AITA for telling her to choose between my options? ETA, my two examples seem like I ask her or need her for stuff often, which I don't. The promises she breaks can be just as simple as having food for the boys for when I'm with them. The dress and leaving me without a ride are just specific events that were easier to explain, but I quickly realized it's not accurate. Update, a lot has happened. I'm trying to write concisely. During the first 24h after me telling her that ultimatum, I decided not to answer her calls or texts to let her cool down. She called 77 times, sent over 100 texts and voice messages. They're mostly just her calling me a horrible person who abandons her family. I outlined a few rules with my fiancé's help for the future if she comes to her senses and agrees to my terms. I wanted them to be ready even though it looked like she will never come around. I had conditions like I could watch them up to 3 times in 2 weeks, not more than 4 hours at a time. Meals needed to be provided. No bath time or bedtime. I'm not spending any money. I got messages from an unknown number, fiancé says it's an app or something, saying how horrible of a sister I am because now they have to watch their mom die alone without C there to comfort them. Based on the suspicions I had earlier and the language similarities, I think this was my sister pretending to be her friend. I talked to my supervisor on Friday afternoon and asked for her opinion. I first asked if it was okay to talk about personal stuff and she was great about it. I don't work with children and CPS has never been a part of my work, so I wanted to double-check with someone more senior. We made a report together on C. The supervisor said it's better to do so, especially now that it's escalated and she might retaliate against me by hurting the boys in some way, as she's obviously not above that. I'm probably going to give her next week to cool off before resuming contact, and depending on what the messages/voice messages say then, I might contact her. If they are as abusive as now, I probably won't respond at all. It makes me unbelievably upset, but I hope the boys will also get a more stable environment without me, as she's using them as pawns with me. Fiancé says hello and wants everyone to know he's here for me and wants to assure everyone I'm not really that bad of a doormat, just for C for some reason. I'm looking into counseling through my work, it's too expensive out of pocket. Thanks for the messages and the shift kicks I obviously needed. For some reason I've become blind to my sister's behavior and was only concerned whether I'd lose the boys from my life. Probably will update when/if I resume contact with my sister if people want to know how it goes. New update February 22nd. I've been getting DMs asking for an update. I posted one in the comments on the weekend but putting it here also for visibility. Boring update, but my fiancé unblocked C for a few hours to see if she was still messaging abusive stuff. She was. Nothing new there. CPS called and asked for more info, which I provided. They wanted to know specific dates and whether I had proof, and I sent them a lot of screenshots of messages with C. I chose to make the report with my name on it as I felt like it added credibility. And it also kind of felt like a punishment for me to use my name, especially after waiting so long to make the report, meaning my sister could now also know for sure it was me who made the report and I'd face the consequences for it. I've had one Zoom appointment with a psychologist through my work. It's been great so far and I already got homework on boundaries. Seems fast, but she said they're trained to move quickly as we are usually provided 5 visits and there should be progress in that time. I haven't heard from C or the kids other than the abusive messages. I'm ashamed to say I've driven by the house a couple of times just to see if everything looks normal, and it does. I had a talk with my fiancé after a commenter suggested the kids might need to be removed from C and if we were planning on fostering/whatever if it came to that. We aren't. We don't want kids and have known that from the beginning. The day-to-day life as a family with kids sounds absolutely horrible, to be honest. There's nothing that appeals to us. We don't even want pets. We would become resentful and probably would lose ourselves in the process if we went there. I don't know how much there is to update after this, maybe if the contact resumes, but honestly I'm afraid to send her anything as she's just insulting me. I don't think she'd even really read what I wrote if I tried. Another update February 26th. Today was my birthday, I'm 30, yay, and I just had an ordinary work day. When I got home, my sister was waiting for me. Fiancé wasn't home yet. C congratulated me and actually seemed normal at first, but when I couldn't behave like I normally would, attentive, asking how I could help her etc., she got irritated. She said she'd known I never loved the boys and was only jealous I didn't have kids. I tried to make them love me more and then I'd falsify reports to CPS and get custody. I actually kind of laughed, it was so ridiculous. I told her I don't even want kids and wouldn't take hers even if they were offered. Might have been a cruel thing to say, but I'm just so tired. She somehow got angrier and saying how horrible the boys will now feel knowing I'd abandoned them and proving I didn't love them. I knew I couldn't win with her, so I just asked she why she was here and where the kids were. C said their whereabouts were none of my business, fair enough. And she was here to tell me I'd never see them again. I'd accepted that as a possibility, or even probable, so I didn't really react, which made her even angrier. She tried to grab me, but I'd stood about 6 feet away so she couldn't reach me, and I just ran inside the building and closed the door behind me. Luckily it locks automatically. She followed, so I shouted through the door that I would call the police if she didn't leave. She kicked the door and left without saying anything. I went to our apartment and sat on the floor. My hands were shaking so I couldn't write, but I made a voice recording on my phone on everything in case I need to contact the police or a lawyer or something. After around 20 minutes just breathing, the door lock rattled and I got really scared until I understood it was my fiancé getting home from work. I was still on the floor, so he obviously freaked out. I told him everything and he said we should make a police report and also update the CPS people about C's irregular behavior. I still feel weirded out reporting her because we endured much worse as kids and don't think anyone reported our parents, but my fiancé asked if I would make this report at work if it was someone else's family. I said it's not fair as I don't work with kids for this exact reason, but I guess I'd report it. It's getting late and I can't sleep, worrying about making the police report tomorrow and wondering what to tell the CPS. I guess I'll explain the whole thing and they decide what's relevant. Oh, CPS let us know on Monday, I think, that my sister is under investigation and they gave me the contact info for their caseworker, so at least that report will be easy to make. Update 1 month later, March 27th. Sorry it took a while, but I've been trying to keep busy, taking extra shifts at work, as I miss the boys. I haven't heard from them at all since my sister kicked at our door. CPS has been in contact a few times, but as we let them know we wouldn't be willing to take the boys unless absolutely necessary, not even for a short foster placement, they haven't been telling us as much about their situation. It feels like we don't know much anymore, but I guess we're outsiders now, so I get it. The family court date is set for next month and we're debating whether to ask if we can go, but I honestly think they wouldn't allow it now as we have nothing to do with the solution. I don't know whether we would have been able to attend even if we agreed to foster them. Usually the family courts here are quite closed. As far as the boys go, I've accepted I'll probably never see them again. I wish that if I can keep tabs on them I can reintroduce myself when they're 10 years or so older and have their own phones etc. It's far away, but I have to have something to look forward to. CPS is actively still investigating. Until they stopped telling us anything it sounded quite sure that at least a short foster placement was needed. My sister failed to show up to mandatory meetings, wasn't available when they tried to reach out to her, and at least once she arrived at the house without the kids just as the CPS came by, and they realized the kids had been home alone for the time C was gone. They contacted me to ask if I knew where my sister was and for how long, but I had stopped talking to her at that point. C said she'd just dropped off something the street over, so she was gone for less than 3 minutes. I don't know if I believe that, and the CPS didn't think so either. The reason we don't want/can't take the boys is mainly our health. I have a chronic illness and my fiancé is in a wheelchair. We live in a 1-bedroom apartment and having the boys' beds and stuff would make it inaccessible for a wheelchair, and that's just not okay. In addition, we just don't want kids at all. I don't think I'd be a great parent and can't expect my fiancé to parent either as he didn't sign up for it either. I hope the boys are small enough so that they are easy to place, whether temporarily or permanently. It breaks my heart, but at the same time I just can't do it. I last updated in late March, not knowing how the custody proceedings would go in family court. They were planned for April. Apparently the first court date came and went without my sister there. She didn't notify them either, she just didn't show up. The next date was set for late July, and they issued fines if she didn't show up again, and sent a certified letter telling her that if she's not present, the case can still move forward. They wanted to make sure she wasn't just trying to delay things by staying away. The boys were placed together with a family, and they resumed contact with us and wanted us to meet them. They are now 4 and almost 3 years old. It had been several weeks, around 10, since we last met, so they were shy at the beginning, but I think at least the older one recognized us. They were timid and quiet, but I guess they haven't settled in yet. This family is planning on having them as long as needed, and I'm glad. They looked healthier, gained some weight, and overall just better color of skin, etc. I hadn't even noticed they looked bad before, but now with the improvement the difference is clear. The July court date also came and went with no word from my sister, so then the court had to decide if they make the decisions without her, and consider her as a parent who abandoned their kids, arrest and hold her until the next court date, or send another invitation to show up. To my knowledge, we're still waiting on their decision. Apparently it's not common to have family court about custody issues with no legal guardians/parents present. Who knew? I just wish this was all over, obviously, but it's not my call to make, so I'm just focusing on building a relationship with the boys. I see them around once a week, either alone or with my fiancé. We could apply to see them without supervision but have no need to. We understand the boys need to be protected as they have practically no one. We still think we did the right thing by not taking them in. Fiancé had a scary summer with pneumonia and we wouldn't have been able to be with the boys. We're not allowed in the court per se, but as the boys' closest relative, who keeps in touch, the CPS keeps us informed enough, especially now as the visitation with them resumed. I'm content with how the things are. I wish none of this happened, and I feel really guilty as it seems my sister's mental health was tolerable before I started to push back and now she's unrecognizable. Not that I've seen her in months, but still. My fiancé said he thinks the breakdown was inevitable and just happened to happen now.